The Boeing 737 was 37 minutes into its climb over the Pacific when the flight attendant's voice crackled through the intercom with an edge that didn't belong there. If there is a Major Katarina Voss aboard this aircraft, please identify yourself to the cabin crew immediately. Row 7, A window seat. She'd been staring at the clouds, watching them break apart like cotton pulled thin, when her name cut through the white noise of pressurized air and distant engine hum. The businessman beside her glanced over, eyebrows raised. Katerina didn't move. She'd left that rank behind 6 months ago, folded it into a drawer with her dress blues and the silver star she never wore. The intercom clicked again. Major Voss, this is urgent. Please make yourself known. She pressed the call button. The attendant arrived within seconds, face pale, eyes darting. Ma'am, the cockpit needs to speak with you. Right now. Katerina unbuckled, feeling the stairs follow her up the aisle. The businessman would later tell reporters he thought she was being arrested. The cockpit door opened before she reached it. The captain stood in the threshold, headset half off, his face carrying the particular gravity of a man whose training had just collided with reality. Major Voss, he stepped aside. Inside, the first officer sat rigid, one hand on the yoke, the other frozen above the radio panel. The cockpit smelled like coffee and electrical systems and something else, fear, sharp and metallic. We have a situation, the captain said, closing the door behind her. Through the windscreen, the sky stretched endless and blue. NORAD contacted us 4 minutes ago through emergency frequency. There's an unidentified aircraft shadowing us 12 miles out, altitude matching. They've been trying to establish contact for the last 20 minutes. No response. No transponder. Katerina's pulse didn't spike. Settled, dropping into that old familiar rhythm she'd learned over Kandahar, over the Strait of Hormuz, over skis that taught you to breathe differently. What do they want with a commercial 737? The captain pulled up the radio log on his display. They're not asking for me. They're asking for you, specifically. NORAD said there's a transmission coming through military channels. Call sign Reaper 11. Does that mean anything to you? The cockpit suddenly felt smaller. Reaper 11. She hadn't heard that call sign in 3 years. Not since the night the squadron scattered across 3 carriers and the mission files were sealed under classifications that didn't officially exist. That's impossible, she said quietly. Reaper 11 went down over the South China Sea. The pilot's KIA. I was at the memorial. The radio hissed. A voice emerged through the static, distorted but unmistakable. Female. Calm. Cold. Sandstorm 24, this is Reaper 11. Verify your presence. I need visual confirmation. You have 90 seconds. Katerina's hand moved to the headset before her brain caught up. The captain handed it to her without a word. She keyed the mic, her voice steady despite the free-fall sensation in her chest. Reaper 11, this is Sandstorm 24. I'm not in a cockpit, I'm a passenger. Repeat, civilian status, no tactical authority. Silence stretched for 5 seconds. Then, copy that, Sandstorm. But you're about to be. I'm bringing you something that won't wait for command structure. Check your 9 o'clock high, 7 miles. The first officer's eyes went to the weather radar. Contact confirmed, fast mover. Jesus, that's a profile I've never seen on civilian equipment. Katerina moved to the left window, pressing her forehead against the cool acrylic. At first, nothing. Then a glint. A shape cutting through cumulus like a blade, sleek and dark, unlike any commercial fuselage. The angles were wrong, predatory. That's a Valkyrie-class prototype, she breathed. Those don't exist outside of skunkworks. They were scrapped after the budget cuts. Not scrapped, the voice on the radio corrected. Repurposed. I've been flying black operations under a ghost squadron for 32 months. No insignia, no accountability, no rules of engagement that make sense anymore. But 2 days ago, I found something in the mission archive that changes everything. Something about Operation Sandstorm. Something they buried with 27 names on it, including yours. Katerina's fingers tightened against the window frame. Operation Sandstorm. The mission that ended her career, shattered her squadron, and left her with a silver star she couldn't explain and nightmares she couldn't share. The mission where she'd made a choice that saved 400 Marines and damned her to silence. Who are you? She asked. The radio crackled. Call me Cypher. I was Lieutenant Yara Kine before they erased me. You flew CAP for my extraction over Helmand Province in 2019. I never got to say thank you because 6 months later, they pulled me into a program that doesn't acknowledge I exist. But now I know why. And you need to know too before they make sure neither of us can talk. The captain's hand was on her shoulder. Major, I need to understand what's happening. NORAD is ordering us to maintain course, but they're scrambling F-22s out of Hickam. Whatever this is, it's escalating. Katerina turned from the window. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman in civilian clothes, but her eyes told a different story. Captain, can you get me direct comms with NORAD? Negative, they shut us out after the first transmission. We're just supposed to fly straight and let the Air Force handle it. Katerina looked back at the shadow aircraft packing them through the clouds. She's not hostile. If she wanted this plane down, we'd already be debris. She's trying to protect something, or warn me. The radio hissed again. Sandstorm, I'm transmitting a file to your personal device right now. Encrypted burst transmission. Open it only after this plane lands. But know this, the reason they declared Reaper 11 KIA wasn't because I went down. It was because I saw what you saw over the Kandahar Ridge. The convoy that wasn't supposed to be there. The air strike that command denied authorizing. The satellite footage they confiscated from your gun camera. They made you a hero to shut you up. They made me a ghost for the same reason. Katerina's phone vibrated in her pocket. She pulled it out with shaking hands. One new file, encrypted. The timestamp was from 3 years ago, the exact night of the Kandahar mission. Why now? She asked into the headset. Why break silence after 3 years? Cypher's voice carried the weight of someone who'd been alone too long. Because they're cleaning house. 6 pilots from Operation Sandstorm have died in the last 11 months. Training accidents, car crashes, 1 suicide that wasn't. You're number 7 on the list, Katerina. I verified the Black Ops tasking order yesterday. You have maybe 48 hours before they manufacture your accident too. The first officer twisted in his seat. Major, 2 contacts inbound from the northeast. Military transponders, F-22 Raptors closing fast. Through the windscreen, Katerina could see them now. Twin contrails against the blue, angles cutting sharp and purposeful. The cavalry or the cleanup crew. She couldn't tell which anymore. Cypher, if I open this file, what happens? The truth comes out. The convoy we hit wasn't insurgents. It was a sanctioned black site operation trafficking something CENTCOM didn't want exposed. We were sent in blind, given coordinates, told to execute. You called the strike based on intel they fed you. I was supposed to confirm the kill and extract. But I saw the containers, Katerina, medical equipment, biological samples. Civilian researchers in zip ties. We didn't hit terrorists, we sterilized evidence. The cockpit went silent except for the mechanical hum of instruments. The captain's face had gone gray. Major, those Raptors are on our frequency now. They're ordering the unidentified aircraft to break off and land at the nearest military installation. If she doesn't comply, they have authorization to engage. Katerina closed her eyes. The math was simple and terrible. Cypher was flying a billion-dollar prototype without authorization, transmitting classified intelligence and implicating a chain of command that reached into levels where accountability disappeared. The Raptors would shoot her down, claim mechanical failure, and the file would die with her. Cypher, you can't win this. Break off. Land, let me handle the file through proper channels. Laughter, bitter and sharp. Proper channels. Sandstorm, they are the proper channels. The colonel who gave us those coordinates is now a 2-star at the Pentagon. The intel officer who verified the target is deputy director at DIA. They built careers on that cover-up. You think they'll let a file and 2 broken pilots dismantle that? One of the Raptors broke formation, vectoring directly towards Cypher's position. The radio squawked. Unidentified aircraft, you are in violation of restricted airspace and threatening civilian traffic. This is your final warning. Descend to Angels 10 and proceed to heading 270 or we will engage. Katerina keyed the mic, bypassing the airliner's frequency and broadcasting on the military channel she still remembered. Viper Flight, this is Major Katerina Voss, service number 736214 Alpha. I am aboard the commercial aircraft. The unidentified friendly is a U.S. asset providing threat intelligence. Hold your fire. A new voice clipped and cold. Major Voss, this channel is classified. Clear this frequency immediately. Negative Viper lead. That aircraft is not hostile. Repeat, not hostile. Major, your security clearance is inactive. You have no authority here. Final warning to unidentified aircraft. Weapons hot in 30 seconds. Katerina's mind raced through 3 years of silence, 6 dead pilots, and the weight of a silver star she'd never understood. She looked at the captain. "I need your passenger manifest, right now." He pulled it up on the tablet, hands unsteady. She scanned the names, looking for anything that felt wrong: aliases, last-minute bookings, passengers traveling alone. There. Row 23C, John Merrick. Booked 4 hours before departure, paid cash for a first-class upgrade, no checked baggage. "Captain, is there air marshal protocol on this flight?" "Yes, one marshal, seated in coach." "Why?" "Because I think I'm being babysat." She turned back to the radio. "Cipher, did you run my flight number through any databases before you intercepted?" "Affirmative. Your booking popped up on a DIA watch list this morning. That's why I had to move. They knew you were flying today. I think they planned something for this flight." The Raptor's targeting radar washed over them, a sensation Katerina remembered from training, invisible but palpable, like standing too close to a microwave. The first officer's instruments flickered. "They're painting us, both aircraft." Katerina made a decision that would either save lives or end hers. "Captain, I need you to begin an emergency descent. Right now. Medical emergency, passenger in distress. Get this plane on the ground at the nearest airfield." "That's Midway Island." "It's a military installation." "Perfect, do it." The captain didn't hesitate. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is the captain. We're beginning an emergency descent. Remain seated and follow crew instructions." The plane's nose dipped. Katerina felt her stomach rise as they dropped altitude. "Viper lead, commercial traffic is descending. Break off, intercept, and provide escort." Silence. Then, "Negative, our tasking is specific. Unidentified aircraft is priority target." Cipher's voice cut through, clear despite the static. "Sandstorm, they're not here to escort. They're here to make sure no one walks away from this. Watch your 6." Katerina turned to the rear of the cockpit just as the door burst open. The man from row 23C stood there, holding a compact weapon she recognized immediately. A Sig Sauer M18, standard CIA issue. Not air marshal gear. "Major Voss, I need you to step away from the radio." His voice was calm, professional, the tone of someone who'd done this before. The captain started to move, but the man raised his free hand. "Stay in your seat, Captain. Fly the plane. This doesn't concern you." Katerina's training surfaced like muscle memory. Distance, angle, exit vectors. She had none. "You're the cleanup," she said quietly. "The accident." "I'm risk management," he corrected. "You were supposed to have a heart attack somewhere over the Pacific. Tragic but believable. Stress, age, undiagnosed condition. But your friend in the stealth jet complicated things. So now what? You shoot me in a cockpit with 2 witnesses and 300 passengers." He smiled without warmth. "Now I make sure that file never reaches the ground. Hand over your phone." Katerina's pulse hammered in her ears, but her hand stayed steady. 3 years of flying combat missions taught you that panic killed faster than bullets. "The file's encrypted. Biometric lock. You shoot me, it deletes automatically." The man from row 23C, definitely not named John Merrick, tilted his head slightly. "Then unlock it and delete it yourself. You have 10 seconds." Through the cockpit window, the Valkyrie-class prototype banked hard, breaking away from the Raptors with a speed that defied physics. Cipher's voice crackled through the headset, still hanging around Katerina's neck. "Sandstorm, I'm drawing them off. You get that plane down. You open that file. You make this mean something." One of the Raptors launched. Katerina saw the smoke trail, the white contrail arcing through blue like a surgeon's cut. Viper flight, weapons free. Hostile aircraft engaged. The explosion bloomed 5 miles out, a brief star against the Pacific sky. The radio went silent. No ejection beacon, no emergency transponder, just empty air where billions of dollars and one ghost pilot had been. The man with the gun hadn't looked away from Katerina. "Your friend just became a statistic. Don't join her. Delete the file." Katerina's throat tightened, but she kept her voice level. She wasn't my friend. I didn't even know she was alive. She flew into a suicide intercept to make sure I saw what she was carrying. That tells me whatever's in this file is worth dying for. It tells me she was unstable. Black ops, deep cover, no oversight. People break. She broke. You don't have to. The captain's voice was barely a whisper. Major, Midway Tower is on approach frequency. We're 8 minutes out. 8 minutes. Katerina looked at her phone, at the encrypted file with its 3-year-old timestamp. Then she looked at the man holding the gun. You're not going to shoot me. Too many witnesses, too much scrutiny, and you need this plane to land safely or the whole cover falls apart. So here's what's going to happen. I'm going to keep this phone. You're going to sit down. And when we land, military police will detain you for threatening a commercial crew. By the time your handlers extract you, I'll have copies of this file in 20 different hands. His finger tightened on the trigger. You're betting your life on my restraint. No, Katerina said quietly. I'm betting your career on your orders. You were told to make it look natural. A shooting in a cockpit is anything but. So either you follow protocol and hope you can stop me on the ground, or you improvise and destroy your entire operation. For 5 seconds, nobody breathed. Then the man lowered the weapon. You have no idea what you're protecting. That file will destroy good people trying to do impossible work. Then they should have thought of that before they killed 6 pilots to hide it. He backed toward the door. Midway is a military base, Major. You land there, you're in our world. No civilian authorities, no press, no safety net. Good luck. The door closed behind him. The captain let out a shaking breath. What the hell just happened? Katerina sat down in the jump seat, legs suddenly unsteady. We're about to find out. Midway Island appeared through the clouds like a memory from a different war, flat, sparse, surrounded by endless water. The runway was long enough for B-52s, which meant it was more than adequate for a 737 in distress. Tower cleared them straight in, no holding pattern, no questions. That worried her. The landing was smooth despite the tension. As the plane taxied toward the terminal, Katerina saw them waiting, a line of black SUVs, uniformed personnel, and one figure in a flight suit standing apart from the others. Female, arms crossed, watching the aircraft with an intensity that carried even through the distance. The captain set the parking brake. Major, I don't know what you're caught up in, but I need to know my passengers are safe. They are. This isn't about them. It never was. She stood, checking her phone. The file was still there, still encrypted, still waiting. When they deplane, make sure they're escorted directly to the terminal. No delays. What about you? Katerina looked through the windscreen at the figure in the flight suit. I'm going to find out what Cypher died for. The cabin door opened. An Air Force colonel stepped through, flanked by 2 security personnel. His face was all business, no warmth. Major Voss, you're to come with us, immediately. On what authority? National security. That's all you need to know. She walked past him without waiting for an escort, down the stairs, across the tarmac, toward the woman in the flight suit. Up close, the rank insignia was barely visible, a major like herself, but the patches were sanitized, no unit designation, no name tape, just wings and a flag. You're not Cypher, Katerina said. The woman's face was sharp, carved by wind and stress. No, I'm Overwatch 37. I was her squadron mate before they reassigned me. I've been monitoring her for the last 6 months, trying to figure out what she was planning. You knew she was going to intercept my flight. I knew she was going to do something desperate. I just didn't think she'd go kinetic. The colonel caught up to them, voice tight with authority. Major Garrett, this conversation is not authorized. The woman, Garrett, turned on him with the kind of controlled fury Katerina recognized from every briefing that went sideways. With respect, sir, Reaper 11 just got splashed by our own fighters protecting a cover-up that's killed 7 pilots. I think authorization is a secondary concern. That's above your clearance. Then raise my clearance or arrest me, but I'm not standing by while another name gets added to the list. Katerina felt something shift in her chest. Solidarity, rare and precious in a world built on compartmentalization and need to know. The file, she said quietly. Do you know what's in it? Garrett's eyes were hollow. Not specifically, but I know Cypher accessed archived strike footage from Operation Sandstorm 3 days ago. I know she pulled medical records from a black site in Kandahar that officially doesn't exist. And I know she flagged a shipment manifest that connects 12 different agencies to something called Project Nightfall. The name landed like a punch. Katerina had heard it once, whispered in a classified briefing she wasn't supposed to attend. Biological research, weapons-grade pathogens, containment protocols that required immediate neutralization if compromised. The tarmac felt suddenly colder. Project Nightfall was a containment operation, Garrett nodded slowly. Officially, it never existed. Unofficially, it was DARPA's attempt to develop battlefield immunology, vaccines that could be deployed in hours, not months. But the research required live testing. And the only way to get live data was, she didn't finish. She didn't have to. Katerina's mind filled in the blanks with the precision of someone who'd flown close air support and seen things that didn't make sense until years later. The convoy, she whispered. The targets we hit weren't insurgents manufacturing bioweapons. They were test subjects, civilians exposed to experimental pathogens. Garrett's silence was confirmation enough. The colonel stepped between them, face flushed. Major Voss, Major Garrett, you are both ordered to cease this conversation immediately. This is classified beyond your clearance levels. You will surrender all devices and report to who? Katerina interrupted. To the same people who authorized a strike on civilians, to the chain of command that's been killing pilots to protect this, to the people keeping this nation safe while you play soldier with conspiracy theories. Katerina pulled out her phone. Then let's test that. I'm opening the file right now. If it's just conspiracy theories, no harm done. If it's not. The colonel moved for his sidearm, but Garrett stepped into his path. Sir, I wouldn't. We're on a base with 73 witnesses and 2 commercial pilots who just watched you threaten Major Voss with a weapon. Career ending doesn't begin to cover it. His hand hovered over the holster. Behind him, the security personnel shifted uncomfortably, caught between orders and optics. Katerina's thumb moved across the phone screen. Biometric scan. 4-digit code only she knew, set 3 years ago on a night when she couldn't sleep and didn't know why. The file opened. At first it was just data, coordinates, timestamps, radio transcripts, then images. Overhead surveillance footage from a Predator drone showing a convoy of 3 vehicles moving through Kandahar province. The image quality was surgical, high definition, every detail preserved. The vehicles weren't technical trucks with mounted weapons. They were medical transports with Red Cross markings. The personnel weren't armed combatants. They were wearing lab coats and surgical gloves, and the cargo. Katerina zoomed in on one of the transport containers being unloaded. The biohazard symbol was unmistakable. Jesus Christ, Garrett breathed, looking over her shoulder. The next file was audio. Katerina recognized her own voice, young and cert, transmitting coordinates to the strike aircraft. Titan 11, this is Sandstorm 24. Targets confirmed at grid November Victor 734. Authorization code Bravo Tango 6. Cleared hot. Then the weapons release, the explosion, the secondary fires that burned too hot and too clean to be standard ordnance. Thermite. Incendiary protocol designed to leave no forensic evidence. The third file was a manifest. 27 names. 12 were flagged KIA, killed in action. 6 were marked with red asterisks and dates of death that coincided with accidents over the past year. Katerina's name was number 7, marked with a future date, tomorrow. They were going to kill me tomorrow, she said, voice distant. Make it look like a car accident, single vehicle collision, fatigue related. Garrett's face had gone pale. The others, Katerina scrolled. Training accidents, helicopter malfunction, suicide by firearm. 1 drowned in a lake, all within 11 months. The colonel's radio squawked. Sir, we have orders to secure Major Voss and confiscate all electronic devices immediately. Authorization comes from JSOC Direct. Katerina looked up from the phone. Tell JSOC that Major Voss has already uploaded the file to 3 separate cloud servers with dead man switches. If I don't check in every 12 hours, the files auto-publish to the Washington Post, New York Times, and Senator Arliss Kendrick's office. It was a bluff. She hadn't uploaded anything, but the colonel's face told her the lie had landed. You're committing treason, he said quietly. I'm preventing murder, she corrected. There's a difference. Garrett's hand moved to Katerina's elbow, firm but not aggressive. "We need to move. Now. There's a secure room in the operations building where we can figure this out before someone does something stupid." "Too late for that," the colonel muttered. But he didn't stop them as they walked toward a low concrete building at the edge of the tarmac. Inside, the air conditioning was arctic, the fluorescent lights harsh enough to make shadows obsolete. Garrett led them to a conference room with soundproof walls and a door that locked from the inside. "Talk fast," Garrett said. "We have maybe 10 minutes before they override the lock." Katerina spread the phone on the table, cycling through the files. Cypher was right. Project Nightfall wasn't shut down after the convoy strike. It was relocated. The research continued under a different classification. According to this, there are 3 more facilities, all running human trials without informed consent. Prisoners, refugees, people who won't be missed. Garrett leaned over the data, eyes moving fast. "Where?" "One in sub-Saharan Africa, one in the Balkans, one in the Philippines, all in regions with weak oversight and strong U.S. military presence." "And the pilots who died?" Katerina pulled up the personnel file. "We all flew missions adjacent to these sites. Close air support, ISR extraction. We saw things that didn't fit the official narrative." Cypher was the only one smart enough to start pulling threads. Garrett's jaw tightened. "So they killed her and they were planning to kill you. And they'll kill anyone else who knows, which is why we need to go public now before they can spin it or bury it. Public disclosure means court-martial for both of us. Espionage charges, decades in Leavenworth." Katerina met her eyes. "Or we stay silent and 6 more pilots die. Maybe 12, maybe dozens. How many names before it's too many?" Door rattled, a voice from outside. "Major Garrett opened this door, that's a direct order." Garrett looked at the door, then at Katerina, then at the phone with its toxic payload of truth. "If we do this, there's no going back. No redemption arc, no medals, no quiet retirement. We become the villains in every official report." "I was given a silver star for killing civilians," Katerina said quietly. "I've been the villain for 3 years. I just didn't know it yet." The door rattled harder. "Final warning, breach protocol initiated." Garrett pulled out her own phone. "I have a contact, journalist who specializes in military leaks. She's already investigating disappearances of personnel connected to black sites. If we send her this file, it'll be in print before anyone can stop it." "Do it." Garrett's fingers moved across the screen. "Sent. No encryption, no delay. She'll have it in 30 seconds." The door exploded inward. Not breached, blown. The concussion knocked Katerina sideways, ears ringing. Through the smoke, figures moved with tactical precision, weapons raised, voices shouting commands that blurred together into white noise. Katerina's vision swam as she tried to stand. Her ears were screaming, a high-pitched whine that made thinking feel like pushing through mud. Garrett was on her knees, blood running from her nose, but her phone was gone, kicked aside by one of the breach team members. The lead operator stepped through the smoke, helmet off, face carved from stone. Lieutenant Colonel Marcus Wade. Katerina knew him from the briefings, the sanitized after-action reports, the man who'd pinned the silver star to her uniform and told her the nation was grateful for her discretion. "Major Voss," he said, voice carrying the kind of calm that preceded violence, "you've created a significant problem." Katerina wiped blood from her lip. "I've exposed a war crime. There's a difference. You've leaked classified information that will compromise ongoing operations and put American lives at risk. I've revealed that American leadership has been murdering its own pilots to cover up human experimentation." Wade's expression didn't change. "Perspective is a luxury we can't afford in this business. You were a good pilot, Katerina. Smart, capable, principled. That's why I picked you for Operation Sandstorm. I knew you'd follow orders and then carry the weight without complaint. You knew I'd be easy to silence. I knew you'd understand necessity when you saw it." Project Nightfall saved 4,000 lives. The vaccines developed from that research stopped 3 bioterror attacks and prevented a pandemic in Southeast Asia. The cost was 27 test subjects who were already dying from exposure. Math is cruel, but it's honest. Katerina found her feet swaying but upright. "And the 6 pilots you killed, what's the math there? Containment. Every mission has acceptable losses. You know that." Garrett spat blood onto the concrete floor. Acceptable to who? You, the people who built careers on this. Wade finally looked at her. To the people who sleep safely because we do things they'll never know about. You want accountability? Fine, court-martial me. Drag this into the light. Watch the program get exposed and then watch every terrorist cell on Earth realize we can't deploy rapid response vaccines anymore. Watch the next pandemic kill millions because you needed to feel righteous. Katerina's phone buzzed on the floor. A notification. The journalist had responded. Files received. Publishing in 90 minutes. Holy hell, Voss, this is Pulitzer level. Wade saw it too. His face remained neutral, but something flickered behind his eyes. 90 minutes. Not enough time to stop it, but enough time to mitigate. You've just forced me to accelerate cleanup protocols. 3 facilities, 17 personnel, all evidence sterilized. You're going to kill 17 people to cover this up. I'm going to protect a program that saves thousands. That's the job. Garrett lunged. She didn't get 2 steps before one of the operators put her down with a baton strike to the ribs. She curled on the ground, gasping. Katerina didn't move. If you kill us, you prove everything in that file. 2 more names on the list, 2 more accidents that won't hold up under scrutiny. The journalist will dig deeper. Senators will ask questions. You'll have the exact spotlight you're trying to avoid. Wade considered this. You're right, which is why you're not going to die. You're going to disappear. Black site detention, no due process, national security exception. You'll spend the next 20 years in a box while the world forgets you existed. Cleaner than death, just as permanent. The operators moved forward, zip ties in hand. Katerina's mind raced through options, training kicking in despite the fear. She was unarmed, outnumbered, in a locked room on a military base controlled by the people trying to bury her. No exits, no allies, no leverage, except one thing. The file Garrett sent, she said quickly. It wasn't the only copy. Cipher encrypted a second version with a timer. 24 hours from now, it auto-sends to every major news outlet, every member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and 50 international human rights organizations. The only way to stop it is with a code she gave me before she died. Wade raised a hand. The operators stopped. Cipher's dead. She went down with her aircraft. Her aircraft exploded. She ejected 3 seconds before impact. I saw the chute on the Raptor's gun camera before your people shut down the feed. It was a complete fabrication. Katerina had seen no chute, no ejection, nothing but fire and debris. But Wade's eyes narrowed and she knew the lie had planted a seed of doubt. If she ejected over the Pacific, she's dead anyway. Exposure, drowning, sharks, pick one. Unless she planned for it. Emergency beacon, flotation gear, pick up coordinates. She had 32 months of black ops experience. You think she didn't have an escape plan? Garrett caught on, voice strained but steady. Cipher was paranoid. She had contingencies for contingencies. If she's alive, she's the only one who can stop that file from going wide. Wade pulled out his radio. Air Ops, this is Wade. I need a sweep of the intercept coordinates. Full SAR protocol. If there was an ejection, I want confirmation. The radio crackled. Sir, our orders were cleanup, not rescue. No SAR was authorized. I'm authorizing it now. Get a helicopter in the air and coordinate with the Raptor's mission data. If anyone punched out, I need to know where they came down. He turned back to Katerina. You just bought yourself time. If Cipher's alive and we recover her, you give me that code. If she's dead, you're lying and the timeline doesn't matter because you'll be in a cell before the file goes public. And if you don't find her, then I have 90 minutes to make you tell me the truth, and I'm very good at that. He gestured to the operators. Get them up. Medical check, then isolation. No communication, no phones, no contact with anyone outside this facility. Katerina and Garrett were hauled to their feet, zip ties cutting into wrists. As they were led out of the shattered conference room, Garrett leaned close enough to whisper, "Please tell me there's actually a timer." "No idea," Katerina breathed back. "But it's the only play we have." They were separated in the corridor. Garrett was pulled left toward the detention wing. Katerina was taken right into a medical facility that smelled like antiseptic and old fear. A flight surgeon examined her with clinical detachment, checking pupils, testing reflexes, documenting the bruises from the explosion. Concussion, minor lacerations, no internal bleeding, he reported into a recorder. Fit for interrogation. The word landed like a sentence. Interrogation, not questioning, not interview. The kind of word that came with techniques and protocols and timelines measured in pain. She was moved again, this time to a room with soundproof tiles and a single metal chair bolted to the floor. No windows, one door, a camera in the corner with a red light that watched without blinking. Wade entered 20 minutes later carrying a tablet and a chair he set down across from her. "Let's be efficient," he said. "Tell me the code, stop the file, walk away from this. I want immunity. Full pardon, witness protection, and Garrett included." Wade set the tablet on his lap. Immunity requires evidence of wrongdoing. There is no wrongdoing. Project Nightfall is a sanctioned program operating under presidential finding. What you're calling murder is classified risk management. What you're calling human experimentation is emergency medical research conducted under the Public Health Security and Bioterrorism Preparedness Act. Every action taken was legal, authorized, and necessary. Katerina stared at him. "You turned pilots into targets because they saw too much. How is that legal? They were debriefed, compensated, and monitored. When 6 of them showed signs of breaking operational security, making inquiries, requesting